My name's Roberta McNally. I was former chairman of the Royal British Legion in Lurgan, and I'm also a veteran of serving for Her Majesty's Armed Forces.
How did you feel when you heard the news of Her Majesty's passing?
Absolutely devastated, like so many people, because Her Majesty has always been in our lives, and to think of the world without her, it's just, you just can't imagine what it's going to be like.
We'll talk a little bit later about how you see all the pageantry and that sort of thing, but how did you got to actually meet the Queen on a number of occasions? Tell us about that.
I met her on actually 2 occasions. The first time was in 2006 in October, when she came over to Northern Ireland to award the Ulster Defence Regiment the Conspicuous Gallant Cross, and I was very fortunate at that time to be one of the standard bearers, and she came past and inspected the parade, and I was chosen as one of the people who were to speak to Her Majesty, but unfortunately it was a very heavy rain that day, so she didn't really speak to anyone. She just done the inspection, and that was what she did that day. But again, that was a very proud day, and I never thought for 1 minute that I would ever meet her again.
And when did you meet her again?
I met her again then in 2014 as chairman of the Royal British Legion. I was invited to Coleraine, where she was coming there to see the public, and when we were going up to Coleraine, we didn't know what was going to happen. We sort of had an idea something important was coming, but we had no idea that it was Her Majesty and her husband. So again, we went into a room, and they were calling out the names of those who would go in to actually greet Her Majesty. And at that time I wasn't really even listening, because I thought, this doesn't apply to me. I'm not going to be chosen. But then my name was called out, and like I struck dumb. But anyway, then we went into the room, and we had to stand around the table, and Her Majesty and Prince Philip came into the room, and we were fortunate again. The whole day was just sort of fell in our lap, because Her Majesty and Prince Philip then took either side of the room, and we were fortunate that Her Majesty came up our side of the room. So at that particular occasion I got to shake her hand, and she spoke to myself and my husband for, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes, which was just mind-blowing for us.
And can you disclose what she said, or is there that kind of, we're not
there
allowed
is
to
sort
speak?
of, you're not supposed to say, but she was very quietly spoken, and you didn't want to be standing there going, what did you say? So you really had to listen to what she was saying. But the one thing that really stood by me of what she said, she thanked us for our service to herself. She asked us what our medals were for, and she thanked us for our service.
A very proud moment for you.
Absolutely, unbelievably proud moment. I was awarded the BEM in Her Majesty's birthday's honours list, which again, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't know it was coming, and again, it was just something that blew me away. But the longer story to that is, and because of Her Majesty's passing, it has now become a bigger story for me. My great aunt was amongst those who were first awarded by Her Majesty the Queen, and she was awarded the BEM for something similar to myself. And so she was the first, and I now am the last. Now I knew, there was 70 years between her getting hers and her getting mine, but I didn't realise at the time, obviously, that she was the first and I am now the last.
And what was your aunt's name?
Ada Roland. So she's now Ada Roland BEM, and any older people on the town will have known my Aunt Ada from collecting for the Poppy Appeal. When back in the day, you had, now you're not allowed to ask people, people have to come forward to you. But back in the day, before all that came about, my Aunt Ada wouldn't have took no for an answer. She was a record breaker in her time for collecting for the Poppy Appeal. And obviously she was awarded the BEM for that.
I'm sure you've been watching all the pageantry over the last few days. There's more to come. How do you feel when you see that kind of respect that's showed throughout all communities and even here in Northern
Yeah.
Ireland?
Well, immense pride to start with. You know, she was a remarkable woman, and as you say, she was respected right across the board. Doesn't matter what creed, creation, you know, there's all sorts going in, passing Her Majesty and paying their respects, and that's something that's great to see. She crossed the divide of, you know, colour, creed, anything. She crossed, you know, gender. She crossed all those divides. She really was a remarkable woman, and we as a generation are very, very fortunate to have had her as our monarch, because I can't really see anybody there ever being her like again. Obviously, Prince Charles would do a good job, but Her Majesty just had that something special that everybody just loved her.